Me, microphone. So welcome back. Here's my 95 E36 M3. I spent the last week reading and learning about the E36 generation for BMWs. More specifically, most of the information about the M3 that I could find. I am no expert. I'm not a BMW mechanic. I've not owned a bunch of E36s before. This is my first go-around. So what I thought I'd do is I collect some of the major points, some of the pros, some of the cons, what it looks like realistically getting into an E36 in 2023. And if you want to buy one, there's going to be some good information here as well. Let's talk about it. For a stock 28-year-old car, that sounds amazing. These are going to be a little bit more high level. I'm not going to go into the specifics of like certain failure points and problems. I'm only going to touch on them. But I hope it's good. I hope it's informational. Ooh. Oh man, that shook the camera a little bit. All right, well, pro number one, let's be honest, it's the looks. Like, goddamn, this car is beautiful to look at. If you're a fan of like those boxy 80s cars or like the E30, you know, like some boxy BMWs, I guess it's a more modern take on that boxy style. Oh my god, it's a turkey. Oh my god, that's a big turkey. This car from any angle just looks spectacular, and it reminds me so much of the previous generation while also not looking so dated. It doesn't look super boxy. It doesn't look like it's gonna, have 40 horsepower. I could go on talking about it forever, but, pro number one, it looks goddamn beautiful. Yeah, so point number two, the maintenance is so simple for this car. It's old. It has old car problems, but they're not scary. This engine is so simple. If you just stay on top of basic maintenance, which you can 100% do yourself, even if you've almost zero experience maintaining a vehicle or a project car, anything like that, it is not scary. There's no barriers to working on this car. This car really is like a modern analog solution. When you buy an E36, you're not getting like 12 computers. You're not getting like computer assisted drive modes or anything like that. When you have a problem, it's usually easy to diagnose. There's like 3 points of failure between how the problem is occurring versus the result of that problem. And there's so much information out there that any of the issues that you may come across have been solved. Even though this is a 25 plus year old vehicle, parts are readily available. There is amazing OEM catalogs where you can purchase parts by part number. Anything you need or want will be readily available. So maintenance, check. Right, point number three, it is reliable. These are old cars, and as I said, they come with old problems. But this is a car that, as long as you keep up on the maintenance, it's a lifetime car. You can own this car for decades. The engine itself doesn't carry too much power for a 6-cylinder, especially what you can do with this engine. And if you just stay on top of that maintenance, this car will just last. The longer you have it and the more you drive it, you will get those 90s creaks and rattles in the plastic, and some of the interior and trim pieces may eventually need replacing, but all of those parts, like I said, are readily available. It ages with a little bit of grace, I'd say. It is a reliable car. Just to finish off, some of the pros there, this really is a modern analog. I know I said it previously, but you have steering feel, you have feedback, you have everything you might need, and you could daily the hell out of it, you could track the hell out of it, you could drift the hell out of it. It is anything you could want it to be while maintaining that driver's car focus. It does not at all quiet down being a driver-focused car. I guess it is just the high end of the 3 Series, so it's not a supercar by any means, but it feels and drives pretty amazing for what it is. With analog comes analog problems, comes easy maintenance, comes easy parts, easy solutions, and a lot of community feedback. So those are pretty much the good things. So I guess we get on to the bad stuff. All right, so let's get into some of the cons. What we're looking at here is this car is plagued with a few, how should we say? Oh yes, points of complete and total failure. And when I say points of complete and or total failure, I really do mean it. So for this, I actually wrote down the most common points of failure that I found on the forums. And these are posts that have been going on since, like, I think the earliest post I found was like 2002. This is one thing most people are going to already know about the E36. Cooling system has a lot of issues. It's very, very, very consistently the major point of failure. The good thing about this is we know everything about it, and we know how to solve it and how to preemptively not get into cooling system failures. So one of the things about this is, this car was made in the 90s, and you can look for yourself. This is made with a lot of plastic, and because of this, and because of the cooling system failing, the engines overheat, and that will happen quickly. So it's one of those things that if you are an owner, or if you're looking to purchase an E36 M3, this is something you should definitely figure out from the previous owner. Has the cooling system been refreshed? Has it been overhauled? Has it been completely redone? What is the state of the service history in relates to cooling and overheating issues and stuff like that? Another point of total failure is this is actually something that I had to deal with. So the strut towers and the shock towers, in the four shock towers, they are very, very, very prone to cracking and breaking and decomposing, I guess you could say. If you are looking to buy an E36 and you're looking to have track days, even a couple times a year, this is something you need to look at before, because of the load-bearing issue that these present. These are something that will need to be proactively repaired if you want to do anything except tootle around in this car. Whether that's like doing a full intensive structural repair, or a reinforcement job, or I hate to say it, getting a different E36. You got to do what you got to do. And then one of the other points of failure, I just marked down 3 big ones that I found on the forums, was there's a lot of oil pressure issues that can present themselves. Typically, people replace the oil pumps, I wouldn't say routinely, but something for the lifespan of the car, But the oil pumps have been known to fail, and there's something, I wrote it down, the oil pump nut. So it's something that can come loose and can cause a leak and cause depressurization, and then, overheating, of course. And overheating is how we lose an engine. The 3 big total failure points: oil pressure issues and oil pump issues, strut and shock towers, whether you need to reinforce them or find one in decent shape, and then, the cooling system. But the cooling system on these cars, if you're buying one in 2023, most likely has been addressed. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure you're going to find one that doesn't. Okay, so the next con, with an old car comes old problems. And as I said, most of them are small problems, and they're pretty easy to fix, and there's a lot of community support. What comes with the old car and the old problems is they're constantly presenting new problems. Even if they are small, or if you're very OCD about your car and you don't want stuff to rattle, and you're not even worried about what's under the hood, there is just going to be one problem after the other. As many of us may know and experience, with these old cars, some of these problems are worth it, but some of them are not. So if you're looking for a classic car to collect or daily, or to, thrash the hell out of, this is a great vehicle. Just be ready. And if you're buying one of these, most likely you know what you're getting into, and I would hope that you're aware of this. But old cars have old problems, and they don't stop. All right, and my last con, a good E36 M3 is hard to find. And I say hard to find because the prices on these are getting steep, and they're growing very quickly. And what's a little bit annoying is decent M3s, even 3 years ago, were $4,000 or $5,000 cheaper than they are now. But any E36 completely rust-free, like garage kept, they are in the 20s, and I've seen some in the mid-30s, and they're just low-mileage, garage-kept vehicles that are only going to be in collector hands for probably their lifetime. When looking at E36 M3, we are probably going to have to deal with rust repairs. We're going to have to deal with these mechanical issues. We're going to have to deal with cooling issues, because we are not buying that $35,000 collector E36 M3. We are buying the low teens, hopefully, E36 M3. When it comes to the world of project cars, if you really wanted an E36 platform, an M3 may not be the choice for you, just due to the limited availability of the condition of the chassis you're going to find and the treatment of the vehicles you're going to find. That being said, if you could find a garage kept, low mileage, rust-free vehicle below $15,000, buy it. I mean, that's what I would do. I'm just a dumb 23-year-old who likes buying old cars and having many issues with them. All right, so here's a question. I don't know if I'm an authority to give a good answer on this or not. This video is very high level, but the question, should you buy one in 2023? So it's a bit of a flowchart situation with you should or not. Do you know what you're going to buy? Like, do you know what you're getting into? Like, have you studied up? Yes? Okay. Do you have the money and the time and the effort to take care of problems presenting themselves? Or do you have the resources to solve problems as they present themselves? And lastly, they say, if you can't buy it twice, you really can't afford it once. And I'd kind of stand by that when it comes to 25-year plus old BMWs or old front-engine German vehicles. These are costly. When it comes to some of the structural repairs that I mentioned earlier, you're going to be looking at $4,000 or $5,000 minimum just to keep this running in decent shape if you were looking to do something adventurous with it. Do you want the car? Do you know what it is? Do you know what you're getting into? Do you have the time and the resources to take care of problems when they present themselves? And 3, do you actually just have the money to do it? And this is also a sliding scale. There's people out here who may be watching this video that are collectors looking for that beautiful, rust-free, full undercarriage treatment E36 M3 to add to their collection. And that's amazing. That's great. You're going to be looking for a very different car than someone looking to spend under $15,000 on an M3. Wherever you're at on that scale, you just need to know what you're getting into. And if you come into ownership aware of these problems with the skill set or the tools of addressing these problems, this is an amazing car. And you would have no issues with long-standing ownership with this vehicle. There's so many community resources, so many parts readily available. It's an amazing car for a project car or in better condition for a daily. And I would say yes, you should buy this car in 2023 if you meet some criteria. Or if you just have the money and you want one. Because who's going to stop you? You want a car, you should buy a car. I'm going to support that any day of the week. If you got to this point in the video, you are either an owner or you're looking to be an owner or you just appreciate the E36 platform. It's your money. If you want the car, you want the car. You should get it. So that's pretty much it, actually. Thanks for coming with me on a short ride around the block. Use it wisely, and we appreciate you. And by we, I mean myself and my car. Look at that bad boy. That is a sexy E36. All right, thank you. Bye.